Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a very interesting set of events for you. We're going to introduce you to the coterie members that you end up seeing on screen now. A new overlay given to us by Coffee Cat Presents, who, well, you all know and love him as he ends up playing Mouse. And I gotta say, it's quite a piece. Thank you all for coming tonight. That being said, we have some things we need to settle. Now, that being said, let us begin by taking a look at the characters we're going to be playing, or we're going to be interacting with tonight. Well, given the fact that we are currently loaded up on Mouse's Haven right now, seems like Mouse would be the best way to introduce. Mouse, what have you been doing now that you finally have had a week's reprieve? At least till the fires died down just a little bit.
Well, definitely spending a good amount of time recovering. I hadn't quite recovered from the boat and been feeling a little less than full lately. So just kind of concentrating on recovering for a little while, doing a little bit of snooping around, nothing too intensive, but definitely keeping my eye out into the Fitzgerald projects for that dog. I definitely do not want to run into it, and definitely keep myself out of harm's way. I'm not a bruiser. I'm not tough. So if I run into anything that's even remotely better at attacking things than myself, the best idea is to run.
I imagine so. Still, I imagine it's been quite the ordeal. Especially having to share a haven, as it were, in the Royal Oak meets, well, while an abandoned butcher shop at least offers some loose hospitality, crumbling roof over your head, rats coming in, all the amenities you could hope for.
It's secluded and kind of creepy. Nobody wants to disturb anything that involves this particular little haven, so it works well enough for me.
Well, we could hope. Still, that leads us over to Nightmare. Now, Nightmare, where have you found yourself squatting this past week, given current events?
You mean getting absolutely fucked up by that damn dog?
Yeah. Something like that.
I don't know what the hellhound is or where it came from. Let it wander into a dark alley with me around one time. See how it goes then. Still suffering a bitch wound. I've taken the time to feed myself, heal up a bit. I'm not in top shape, but I'm as close as I can get right now. I need to get back with the Mouse as soon as possible.
Well, I can almost guarantee you'll have at least that going for you. Though I can't promise on what the night brings. Still, that being said, I'd like to end up introducing you all to Rashad. Rashad, Mr. Seraph.
Hello.
It's been quite an eventful few days, and now you've had a moment to catch up on all your little logistics. But I think there's only one bit of good news that you could ever ask for right now. Your security guard, and now almost, well, shall I end up saying personal bodyguard, Chunk, has finally gotten out of the hospital on light duties. Apparently he's made a miraculous recovery given the fact his back was splayed open with the skin ripped and the muscle torn. But maybe it's something he's eating.
Maybe. I'm glad he's alright. He's definitely getting a pay raise behind all of this shit. Other than that, I have business to attend to, as usual. Making sure Elysium is set up, and first and foremost, making sure the Fitzgerald Project is in a better state than it currently is.
The plans, no wonder the way Kindred end up twisting their environments from the shadows. Well, thankfully, you did intend for everybody to get together as you have a boon to pay off. Now, I'm going to allow you to spare the details at this point. Suffice it to say that boon belongs to somebody who wants to meet the remaining members of the Nightlife. Though, could it even be called the Nightlife now that two of its original members are missing? And now left with only what many would call the Nospros have run into. Rashad has petitioned to end up joining, but that has been tenuous. Laughable if you ask Nightmare, but we're going to end up stopping. You've all received a call from Rashad. An important meeting. Set in a very odd place, apparently some form of tea house. And this is an interesting place. From the outside, it doesn't look like much. It's a moment before the door is open. You end up being greeted by an individual who's wearing what appears to be a mask. He seems to be dressed in fine suit and what have you, though the mask is pressed. Though you're not sure how it hangs onto his face, as he doesn't have any straps or anything. It's just simply placed there. You can see that the eyes are covered with black fabric, and he walks to the side as the door opens. It seems to be leading you all. He doesn't seem to pay particular attention to you all, almost as though he's just doing this on command. And he offers you a way in.
Don't have any reason to use. We were called here by Rashad, so there's got to be some reason.
Seems
Nightmare
like a
himself.
place.
It does. Nightmare has his own mask, of course. He keeps extras. Always. As well as a spare set of clothes. So these ones are notably a little more warm than the last pair he had.
I imagine so. You stand out like a sore thumb in here, at least at first. It takes but mere moments before you see a room bathed in low light red. Each of the lamps is set with a heavy shade that just makes the room itself seem almost blanketed in crimson. Velvet and leather are the order of the day, and yet fine furniture, carefully maintained. The contrast between the black and the red makes it very easy on the eyes, though dark in here. Surprisingly dark for a room with so many lights. And it's there you all end up entering, and sitting in the main chair is a woman. Now, who is this woman that is currently sitting in the chair in this tea chest?
Ah, Mr. Seraph. So nice of you to join me. I do hope
Yes.
the trip here was amicable.
It was very interesting.
I'm sure. And you must be Nightmare, you must be Mouse. Welcome, welcome. Please, have a seat.
Nightmare tries to find one of the bigger chairs and kind of tries to sit down gently. He's really not trying to break anything here. He can't afford to pay for any of this stuff.
Mouse just sits and looks a little bit like out of place. Like he's not sure what to make of this place.
It seems, just from his body language, Nightmare seems to be oddly comfortable.
I'm just having a good look around. I'm not
Mouse,
paying attention to anything else.
the outside of the individual in the mask and suit, would you mind rolling me a... Let's do a Wits plus awareness.
Right.
Get a first glimpse at the place. Violet, is there anything that Mouse might pick up that isn't completely obvious to the eye in this wonderful tea chest of yours?
He might notice a few things. There's suspension hooks on the ceiling. There's bolts on the wall where you could potentially be shackled to. And indeed, the man in the suit, there's something about just underneath the shirt. You think you can see black straps across his chest. There's lots of little things. Maybe this isn't just a tea chest.
Being that Mouse is 16 years old, he wouldn't necessarily have any knowledge about this, would he?
He's 16 years old. I'd be surprised if he didn't. But that being said, whether you have knowledge, I'll leave it at your own discretion. But I'll allow you to continue.
I should introduce myself. My name is Miss Violet Rousing. This is my parlor, for lack of a better word. It is where I do most of my business. But you are here for an entirely different kind of business. After all, you are the infamous nightlife. I have heard much about you.
Infamous is a strong word.
I wish we could say the same about you, Miss Violet, was it?
Oh, I'm shocked. Mr. Seraph, you haven't told them about me?
I sadly haven't had the time to.
Well, please, go ahead. I would be very interested as to your opinions of me.
Very well. Okay. Where do I begin?
A good place is how do you know her?
Yes. And perhaps why are we here? Exactly. Although perhaps Miss
She-
Violet is more apt to tell that part of the story.
Miss Violet is a part of the Corps, and I seeked her out for aid a few nights ago. You all probably remember why. More information to give there soon. But in
At
request,
this, Nightmare kind of narrows his eyes behind the mask. Perhaps someone who is being especially observant would notice this. But Nightmare just immediately kind of seems that Mr. Seraph knows something that we don't.
yes. Anyway, I asked for her aid, and she requested a couple of boons in return. One being to meet you two. The nightlife.
And you have performed admirably, Mr. Seraph, without any threats of punishments which normally motivate my people. Ah,
I
I will. My dear friends, or soon to be friends, I would hope. I have been following things, many things. That is kind of what I do. Are you aware of what is going on the mortal world right now?
We
You
don't
kinda-
exactly follow mortal politics. Most of our time has been devoted to what perhaps you might call screwing up, we call investigating.
Well, that is a dangerous side. They are very easy to rile, and it makes our existence a lot harder if you forget to tend to the herd. There are whispers that martial law will soon be declared on the city. The police are not gaining order. There are threatening riots. People are rallying against them. They know they're negligent.
That could spell trouble for us then.
You could spell trouble for a lot of people. None the least, Mr. Seraph here, who could be looking at quite a nasty shortfall. After all, infrastructure has already crashed due to safety concerns. And what is it you mainly deal in again, Mr. Seraph, my dear?
for the most part, insurance.
Yes, a lot of potential payouts to come with many, many buildings burnt down. How secure are you?
Roll me an
Secure.
intelligence plus finance, here, Mr. Yeah, Seraph.
Okay. You said security plus finance?
No, intelligence plus finance. Given the bread and butter of the situation and the payouts that would be required, your business requires you to be mostly taking in and paying out occasionally. Usually those payouts are large, but with the amount of people under your hip, particular vantage is usually not a problem. But given on how much you are invested in Detroit, if something like the burning of London happened, you would never be able to recover.
Let's just say it's not looking well.
Quite. And with such a heavy burden on your shoulders as well. Here's the offer. I have a plan, a hopeful solution for a peaceful end to these troubles that are plaguing the mortal world. But to do it, I need access to Fitzgerald. I need to be able to develop certain properties, have my certain people move in, make sure that the world is going to smooth the grizz, as it were.
Well, it seems we've been targeted by a lot of investors lately. Seraph being one of them, and now you, Newman, was there before Seraph got there. If you're acquainted with Seraph, I am assuming you're also acquainted with... It wasn't Newman, it was, Ambrose.
Ah, yes. Dear little Ambrose. And I am sadly acquainted with Mr. Newman as well, although that is a story for another time. As it is, I have been speaking with several of my other core members, trying to swing them around to my way of thinking. But
Wait, so you had said you had a plan for Fitzgerald?
I have a plan for the city.
Well, Fitzgerald happens to be our domain.
Yes, it does. And
It also happens to be mostly wasteland.
at
Uncared
the moment, you are correct. We are looking to gain security. What does it mean for you if, or for us really, if you also gain partial control over the Fitzgerald project?
It means I can try and not make the city burn. That there aren't another set of Detroit riots. That there aren't thousands more deaths. That there aren't all the kindred wars which would spark up among this. As food sources become scarce, it becomes harder to feed. People tend not to go out when there is a curfew. That makes people desperate. That makes people dangerous. That gets the Second Inquisition back.
I have no reason to argue with any of this. I simply want to know if us being there will step on anyone's toes or if they will step on ours.
No toes to step on. Well, there is the argument that technically the core gifted you that place in the first place, but I really want to remain friends.
Yes, I have no arguments with that either. If Baron Creed wanted to take it from under our noses and we could not say a word about it. I don't want to cause any more trouble. In fact, I want to help fix this mess. So perhaps I can start some other duties I've been trying to get for a while.
Let me put it this way. My clients, though I shall not name names, are a very diverse and influential group of people. Hopefully, with the right whispered words and the right actions, I may be able to persuade them to not declare martial law, to hopefully maybe try and listen to the protesters, prevent the riots, actually try and turn this city around for the better, start building it up. I think that's something we can all agree is a nice outcome.
It is
Yes.
necessary at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with 3 members of the Coterie already here, and yes, especially with Raven's absence, Mr. Seraph, you are granted, hope his mouth is okay with it, full membership of the Coterie. I know I made it official before with you and the Baron, but I needed to make it official here with Mouse as well.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So then, what is the verdict, Seraph? I, for one, would welcome you. Fitzgerald. Better with it than the sorry job we've done with R.
Oh, you are far too hard on yourself. After all, it must be hard to talk to people behind the mask all the time.
You're not wrong.
Mouse takes off his mask, to reveal this horrifying figure. Perhaps in more ways than one. Miss Violet. He'll excite you.
Oh, darling. People wear many masks, but rarely one so openly as you.
Alright, Mouse, Seraph, what do you say?
Yes, we can use some help around Fitzgerald. There's no question about that. There's not a lot that any of us can really do to connect with the people there. I mean, sneaking around and gathering rumors, listening to people talk, that's what I do best.
And that's a very powerful tool if you know how to use those rumors.
The only problem is
Where I
there's...
would come in.
The only problem with it so far is that we haven't exactly had a face for the world. Me and Mouse, you could see what might stand out. Negative. Seraph, he's too rich for his own good. People don't trust him.
Yeah, Mr. Seraph, you don't have the kind of connection to that kind of environment that's necessary.
You, Miss Violet, I think might be a nice middle ground.
I mean, that all depends, really. That all depends on if you have friends in low places.
I look around the room, close to any neighboring rooms there might be. Oh, I think she's got plenty of friends here.
But sadly not many in low places. However, we don't need them. There are two angles to approach this. You want to work from the bottom? I was going to work from the top. It is not a factor of making people stand down, it is a factor of making people listen. I can make people listen.
I mean, really, if you're preaching solidarity, then that's kind of the angle.
I knew you were clever. The minute I saw you, I knew you were clever. Yes. We need to remind the people that ultimately we are all people of Detroit.
I can get behind that message.
Yes. So could I.
I think it's a good message, especially with both the rumblings in Kine and Kindred worlds right now.
Well then, yeah, we'll make it official then.
Yes.
I would happily shake your hand, Miss Violet, but I don't think my cold, dead claws would please your muscle settlements. Mr. Seraph, you wouldn't mind.
I don't mind. Miss Violet, welcome.
I am honored. Thank you, Mr. Seraph.
Now then, is there anything else we need to do, Mr. Seraph?
You can see Rashad's been very more so listening, but also in deep thought.
What's on your mind, Rashad?
We all haven't really had a chat since, for about a week, right?
We haven't. Lots happened, I suppose. Perhaps somewhere
There-
private then.
Yes.
No offense,
rather
no
not say
offense,
here just
Violet. It's simply that this is a private matter and we wish not to disturb your business.
Oh, please, there are no secrets among friends. It does not take much to put clues together. You yourself said you haven't met for about a week, and it was about a week ago, I believe, Mr. Rashad showed up on my doorstep, looking quite the worst for wear.
Suppose there is no reason to hide it from you. Rashad,
Very
go
well.
ahead, we can... Besides, it's probably already public knowledge amongst some of the other kindred in the city.
That giant beast of a wolf that attacked you and inevitably murdered Miss Kitty, or whatever her name is, was our wonderful friend Raven.
What?
Nightmare's eyes go wide and he clenches his fist. As he starts to kind of hear the furniture wrinkling a little bit, he moves his hand away from it so he's not, he really doesn't want to break anything here. He's attempting to calm himself down immediately. What do you mean, Raven?
Before the beast turned around to go to attack me, it stopped itself and transformed back into Raven. She
What?
told me to run. And
Yes.
since the
Fucking bitch!
happy about this, I'm not happy about the situation either. Not one bit.
We cannot let her get away. She attacked us. She's bound to attack others. She's always had a chip on her shoulder, and now she's taking it out on the world.
Mouse by this point has gotten up and started to pace around the room.
We need to let people know. She attacked one of ours out in the nightlight for no apparent reason that she made obvious to us, at least. She's a danger. Not just to us, but to the other kindred of the city.
Yes, we were going to have to come up with a plan to deal with her eventually.
We can't do this alone, Mr. Seraph. He took on all of us. She took on all of us without so much as breaking a sweat.
No, we have to be smart.
Plans need to be made.
Well, luckily I am quite good at plans.
We're gonna need every bit of help we can with a rabid dog like that.
She had the nerve to call me.
She
And
called
try to
you.
ask me for a favor.
For now, if she gets in contact with us, we act as everything is normal.
She told you who she was. She knows that you know, and she knows you're likely to tell us. She's not an idiot. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this shape.
I wouldn't be so sure of that, but okay.
No,
yes, you're
she's...
alive. A categorical group like you three? That seems pretty idiotic to me.
I know you're trying to get on our sweet side. she is big.
No, if there's anything about Raven that I know for sure is that she's impulsive. Doesn't think
Yes,
clearly
see.
before doing something.
Well, perhaps that won't work in her favor this time. Given us the edge, and now we know we'll have to care.
For all I know, she's still prowling around in Fitzgerald. In fact, Derek, do I know that? Is there a rumor about that?
Ooh, good question. What I would roll is probably intelligence plus streetwise.
Right?
Or if you have any contacts that you think might be applicable.
I don't think that I do.
Would it be safe to say I could also do intelligence streetwise since I've got a streetwise?
That's a bestial crit.
That's a bestial crit.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the case, that's more than enough. Mouse, would you be able to roll me a d10, please?
Dokie. Single D10.
Yep. 9. Okay. How appropriate. So, right now, you know that the attacks haven't really stopped. Though you suspect that if she's cautious feeding, it might be hard to find. There's been more than a few times where somebody has been torn to pieces. You're not 100% sure why or what the cause is, but there's definitely whispers about the Hound of Fitzgerald, a great black beast that ends up lurking amongst their streets. It's enough to make you worry if it followed you here. You are going to be suffering from paranoia. You will try and disengage from any perceived threat subject to anyone and anything. Any action not taken towards immediate end incurs 2 dice penalty. This compulsion ends when the vampire has spent roughly an hour in a safe spot. A rooftop with a good visibility, their haven, or buried deep in the ground, for example. So in this case, in a social setting, you start to end up looking around the room, and you don't know Violet. You don't know why Rashad would be telling you this.
Mm-mm.
I mean, even Nightmare, for as good as he's been, he's had the most contact with Raven. I mean, he might know. And if so, she might know more than you think. You're in a room full of smiles and daggers.
Mm.
Regardless, what this means is that I can't go back to the cave. She knows where it is.
Nah, there's plenty of rumor about a hound for sure, and he starts to get like a little visibly shaken.
Mouse, your eyes go to the hooks in the roof and the bolts. And your mind starts coming up with alternate reasons somebody might have this.
Okay.
What, you mean that she's still attacking people now?
Wait, what? Yeah, what? I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
You said that there have been rumors of a black beast.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you heard these?
And Fitzgerald, I just said that.
Yes.
It's odd Nightmare wants to know your sources.
Can I see what Mouse is looking at? Like, can I see him looking at the bolt locations?
Fairly obviously.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Violet. I have things to do. And Mouse starts to leave.
Mouse, wait.
What?
What's going on? You seem
I've
more
got
on edge when you got here.
No, I've got shit to do.
Alright. Call me when you're done then.
Yeah, I'll call you later.
Be safe,
He goes.
little mouse.
Be careful.
Mouse, as soon
He
as
goes to leave.
you exit the door, you see that man in the mask standing in front of you. He seems so much bigger now. And he turns to the side. It's weird being able to look at his face, this mask, and not see where his eyes are. He starts to walk towards the exit door. And for a moment you think he might lock you in here before he opens it. And he doesn't say anything. He just gives a small nod and a hand wave goodbye.
Yeah. Bye. And Mouse goes to leave, and he is actually going to unseen passage back to his haven.
Okay.
I'm not the only one that thought that was weird, right?
Yes.
He did seem quite perturbed. He noticed my accessories.
Oh, I see. He was just embarrassed. That's probably what it was. Kid was
Well, I
16
do
or so.
British as Mr. Seraph, but there we are.
Maybe we'll just need to give him time to cool off, and it'll be back to normal.
Boys will be boys.
Perhaps so. Anyway, we've got to do something about this. Apparently, she's still attacking people even now in the Fitzgerald projects. We need to let people know the kindred without alerting them too much, without causing a panic.
Well, it's our neighborhood now.
That it is. So then, what's our first order of business at Fitzgerald?
Well, I have several people to tie up here, but then I should be free for the rest of the evening. I also need to make several phone calls. Perhaps have a meeting or two with certain core members. See if I can swing them around to my way of thinking.
Right. I need to find a meeting place, a new one in the Fitzgerald projects. They're all the last one burned down.
I think I'll go with you. It's better to travel in pairs than alone.
Especially HOs.
Yeah.
I have Mr. Seraph's number. I will call as soon as I am free. And join you.
Alright.
Get to know you better.
I will
It'll
be
be a
looking forward to that
pleasure.
call.
I highly doubt it, Mr. Seraph, but it's sweet nonetheless.
Out of character, Would it be safe to assume that during that week I went back and got my motorcycle?
Give me a high or low.
Low.
You did manage to end up grabbing it, just as it was
Sure.
about to be impounded.
Good. No. Not from me. How did I got to it then? Probably what I wrote here on.
Well,
In
Nightmare.
that case...
Go ahead.
In that case, Mr. Seraph, should we take your ride or mine? Mine's a little less conspicuous if you can get over riding bitch. Yes. Or we could take both. It'll be a little more obvious, but at least I have multiple ways to get out of there. Sounds.
I'll be a bit behind, but I will meet you there.
Alright. See you soon.
Yes.
Don't get yourself eaten soon. Especially by lovely young Violet.
I wouldn't dream of it.
What a pity.
So,
Nightmare will get on his bike and go stake out a place.
so Mr. Seraph, you are staying behind with Violet, correct? Or are you heading out?
Just-
Are you heading out with Nightmare?
I'm heading out with Nightmare, but I will meet up with him at the Fitzgerald Projects like 5 or 6 minutes after.
You both leave respective vehicles or chauffeur, depending on how you view it. Miss Violet, you are sitting in your parlor. You can almost smell the Nosferatu still. Might have worked its way into the leatherwork, but at least the boon is paid. Contact is made. What is going on in your head right now?
Small steps, first steps, but things have a tendency to avalanche, so it's being careful of your footing all the same.
Of course.
News about Raven is interesting. That's a tidbit I'll be keeping hold of.
Well, that being said, doesn't take you too long before the individual who's been masked this entire time is, well, in your little way, bringing you an old rotary phone with the line on a silver platter. Yeah, it carries the cord, carefully, and kneels as he offers it to you, as obviously you have some phone calls to make.
Thank you, Anthony. I do think that'll be all for this evening. You can go wait in your room for me. I won't be long.
And he gets up and starts to walk out. How kind of you to leave him with some decency when the company's around.
Well, I didn't want to scare them off. Mouse is only a little boy after all. Being
Yeah.
greeted by a nude man might not give the right impression.
Well, that and he has to greet people at the door, which means he has to be open to the public. Could be quite the scandal.
Well, he's the one who did have to get that tattoo.
Fair enough. So, who exactly are you contacting right now? Who is it that you need to contact?
My first contact would actually be we mentioned him earlier, dear Mr. Ambrose, Julian Ambrose.
You had given a call It takes a while before the line picks up. Hello?
Ambrose, darling, it's Violet. How is this evening finding you?
I'm doing alright, I guess you could say. I hope that you're doing well as expected, Miss Violet. Haven't heard from you in quite some time. Laying low, I presume.
Oh, you know me. I am often very tied up in my work. Or rather, they're very tied up, but regardless.
Uh, Always with the puns. So, what makes you end up calling my line tonight, Miss Violet?
I just had a very interesting meeting with a certain coterie. The Nightlife. I believe you know of them?
You can hear that the phone itself, like maybe crack the visor or something like that. Maybe crack the screen, audible. Yes, I'm familiar with them.
Yes, well, your name popped up in the conversation about your ties to the Fitzgerald neighborhood, and I wanted to approach you with a little plan to help maybe quell some of the mortal unrest we're currently dealing with.
Well, the property was given to that particular group, so at this point, my hands are tied. If they can't handle their own mess, then, well, they shouldn't have been given it in the first place. Violet, would you be able to
Indeed.
roll me a intelligence plus politics? This is actually something you might know. It's difficult though. It's a difficulty 4. Willing to spend a willpower power or succeed at cost?
I'll succeed at the cost.
Okay. The cost, we're going to keep it light for now. So the cost at this point will be it will cost you 1 point of blood.
Okay.
You're aware that Julian was... How should I put this? Julian had to give up Fitzgerald Projects. It was initially supposed to go to him, but due to his child, or shall we say, embraced and then having to be killed because of the Flan incident that happened just a little while ago, served as a great embarrassment. And part of his punishment was to no longer have claim to the Fitzgerald Projects. This in turn made it handed over to the Nightlife. The irony being that they only have that because of Julian. You might be a little bitter about that.
Julian, darling, I come to you tonight with an opportunity, a chance to regain some of what was lost.
Miss Violet, I appreciate the opportunity, but at this point, let us be clear. For them, it is sink or swim. To me, I don't see much of a benefit at this point, chasing after old glories.
Yes, but this isn't about the Nightlife. This is about Detroit. This is about the people.
Oh.
This is about making sure certain buildings don't get burnt down, about making sure that certain troubles don't flare up. It makes business for people like you and me a lot harder.
Yeah, well, at this point, I don't see any specifics on that. And more specifically, I would like to point out that, as far as I am concerned, any problems there should end up falling to the people who own the turf. Responsibility and all that. And they are responsible, aren't they? You said you just met them. What's your take on them?
They are an odd bunch, to say the least.
Yes, and down a member, as I understand it, poor Nighty.
Down two, actually.
Oh?
Yes, I was so looking forward to meeting Miss Raven, but apparently they haven't seen her in about a week.
Well, unfortunately, we have many of the club just dropping out time and time again, so I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe she just wasn't up to the challenge.
Mm.
More's the
Very
pity.
well. If you are not interested, and
I never
there's
said I
nothing
was
else
not
you would like,
interested. Yeah, Miss Violet, I am simply here stating my current stance. As I'm sure you would if you had, if I had come to a offer with you.
oh, well. Let me put it this way. I might need some minor capital investment, but in return I might be able to sway. Let's just say from what I learned of the nightlife, although they have been given control of Fitzgerald, I'm not sure they necessarily want to keep it. The only interested party really seems to be Mr. Seraph. The others view us as a chore to clean up.
Yes, well, Mr. Seraph definitely ends up maintaining capital. I'll give him that.
Maybe not so much longer. His position is not as concrete as he makes out.
Oh,
Please, darling, you're smart. He works in insurance. If the city burns, what happens to the insurance brokers? He has a vested interest in making sure that doesn't happen. And potentially, with the right whispered words, he could be willing to pay a lot to make sure it doesn't. And how grateful would he be to the one who was able to help?
and your cut of all this?
The city keeps running. People keep having their little vices. I use my people to make sure that the peace is amicable and they benefit, and from that I benefit.
Well, I don't have much to offer right now, given current political climates. But I will end up saying this. At this point, there is a rumor going on that, given the recent stress and what have you, the chief of police is looking to retire a little bit early. Seems that the stress is getting to him.
That is useful. And poor man.
Now, that being said, what exactly do you need from me?
I am planning for peace. Talk to the
Yes.
right people, whisper in the right ears, make them listen. Open talks. Reform Fitzgerald. Maybe not condos and luxury apartments. Maybe start something more simple. It is a wasteland after all, and not in the best location that way. We do small houses, cheap, efficient prefabs. With it, you can get first-time buyers, you can get people off the streets, you can get people out of jail, you can suddenly reinvigorate the city. You have to build it from the ground up, after all.
Violet, high or low?
Hi.
You hear in the background for a second when, as Julian is contemplating, like as if he's been suddenly surprised when he ends up hearing, Papa! Hey, hey, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Go play. I'll get you in a moment. All right? Yeah, just take the crayons. Go on. Sorry about that. Yeah, Miss Violet, would you be able to repeat that? I was suddenly disrupted.
Certainly. We negotiate, as it were, manipulate, convince the right people to listen to the protesters, to listen to the uprising.
That I
Open the
understand.
door.
That I understand, but tell me, why call me in this? Me being influential, please.
I'll be honest, I called you because it wasn't just your influence, it was because of your association with the nightlife. Had I known it was so bad, well, I would not have troubled you this night, but as it is...
You have me on the phone and wish to capitalize on the opportunity.
Well,
I don't
hope for us
fault you.
both to capitalize on the opportunity.
I've given you a small nugget of very important information. That is a courtesy from one member to the next. As for my current points, I will... You can almost hear him chewing on his bottom lip. Roll me a charisma plus persuasion. I will help to the limited extent I can. But I expect to be kept informed. Now, if it involves the police or matters of focused on the Fitzgerald projects, allow me to know, and I will see what kind of information I can gather on the specifics. It appears now I have to end up staring at my failure right in the face. And I am currently trying to save face as Violet. And I'm hoping you'll trust this honesty. So, when it comes down to this whole project that is underway, I want you to remember me. And I want you to remember on how amicable I am, given certain tensions.
Mr. Ambrose, knowing what I know now, I will never forget this generosity. And I will make sure that, well, let us say, if this goes right, everyone shall know how you put the core first, putting aside any personal grudges. And if this goes wrong, well, your name simply will not be attached to it. And you can walk away clean.
I appreciate doing business with you, Miss Violet.
And are you, Mr. Ambrose?
Good evening. He hangs up the phone. You sit in the dark, in quiet with just the phone. Does Violet have any other plans, or does she simply await for the nightlife?
She'll make a phone call, but just a quick one.
Very well. Who is she calling?
She is calling to arrange a meeting with one Baron Creed.
That'll be difficult, but doable.
It is not necessarily something for tonight, but in the near future.
Of course. With that, in the tea chest, we end up leaving Miss Violet in the dark red room. That being said, there was one individual who left almost as though running, fearful. There is an individual who's out in the streets right now, trying to get back home. Mouse, you're currently making your way, trying to get home.
Mm-hmm.
In every shadow, you're not 100% sure if you just saw a dog. Many times it's enough to make you leap out of your skin, if you still had any. And now you are left alone. As you're approaching, you're able to calm just a little bit. You haven't seen anything yet, though your mind keeps a whirl of possibilities. Maybe you're reminded of the infiltration earlier talked about by the Second Inquisition by Operation Daybreak. You might remember what the Baron might do, given you did not deliver on Juliet.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna find you, Mouse. And somebody's gonna want payback very soon.
I'm just making my way back towards my haven. Remaining as unseen as possible.
Alright. It takes you a moment. You shuffle through the boards and eventually find yourself inside of your own haven. You're able to breathe, at least for a moment, so long as she didn't find you.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, maybe she can track your scent. Who knows?
No, I'm safe here. I'm safe here. Nobody knows where this is. Nobody knows.
hear footsteps groaning wood upstairs.
I just find a corner and I Cloak of Shadows.
Step by step, you can hear it marching around. Like it's trying to be quiet, but the boards betray it. You hear a heavy door open. The door to the basement. You can see the dust that you've kicked up currently cascading in the light coming down from the stairs. And maybe, just maybe, you can make out a silhouette. It's carrying a large hatchet. Maybe a fireman's axe, you're not sure. As it steps down, one after another. The blade just falling on the previous step. Thunk. 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 Thunk.
Is it a shape I recognize, or is it not?
It's hard to see. It's hard to see with the... It's so bright upstairs compared to down here. That stupid street light out the front window. Kid? You here? Shit. Looks like I missed him.
Got her?
Kid?
And I come out of the corner.
Oh,
Is
Jesus.
it him?
Oh, Jesus, kid. Fuck. You're alright? What's going on?
Oh boy.
He hefts the axe over his shoulder.
Can you put that down?
What? Kind of start stuffing it in your face. Do I make you nervous?
Not right now, please.
Oh, fuck, well, you're no fun. He literally just hucks it over his shoulder and it collapses onto the concrete behind him.
Okay. I am... I just found out who that dog was.
You see, you have his complete and undivided attention.
No, I don't want you to freak out right now, please.
I can't make promises on that one. You know how it is.
I felt like I was being fucking followed this whole fucking time. But that fucking dog was Raven.
He turns. Just a bit. His head turns to the side and looks down at the concrete, to the axe. Well, it's a start.
I'm kind of freaking out right now because there's rumor that she's been prowling around the fucking neighborhood. And it only just occurred to me that she could possibly follow me anywhere. I'm trying to remain unseen, try to be stealthy, kind of, do all of those things that I'm really, really good at.
Alright. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What you plan on doing?
I had a thought all of this week. I thought all this week that if I figured out who it was, because I had a feeling when I saw that dog, it didn't look like a normal dog. I had a feeling that that dog was kindred or something else, but I had a thought to figure out, track it, something, figure out where they sleep. And if I figure out where they sleep, then that's an advantage. That's something that I could use. That's something I could potentially be able to do something about. And I know for a fucking fact she's a snoozer.
Oh, look at you. Got a bit of a mean streak on you now, kid. I kind of like it.
I don't. Not really. Because when I get all up in my head and I start thinking about things like this, it starts turning into...
What?
Starts turning into, well, I just want to use these things to ring people, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. See, I'm at a crossroads right now, kid. Because I'm kind of on the one hand, I want to look out for you. I really do. I want you to be safe. I want you to be secure. I want you to live as happily as, someone like you can. I really do want the best for you. On the other hand, I want that bitch's head on a silver fucking platter. I would like to end up seeing her entrails decorating these walls. I'd like to be able to sit in a hammock made of her skin right now. So, if we can find some way to figure out which way the pendulum's swinging right now, that'd be fantastic. But, kid.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying really hard not to slide into old habits. I'm trying really fucking hard.
I don't want that.
But you kind of do, don't you?
I don't want that. I don't want... I don't want things to get out of control.
Out of control. Out of control. Out of fucking control. Okay. Alright.
So, my other thought isn't to remove her head from her shoulders, but deliver her to Mason as tribute.
It's like he's stewing on that idea for a minute. Tribute.
I don't know if he'd go for it. I haven't talked to him. I just...
Show some gumption and some initiative, I'll give you that. Set up brass on you, kid. If you think you can pull that off.
You don't think he'd go for it?
Oh, I think he'd go for it. I don't have any doubts. That just doesn't work into my particular advantage. See, bluntly, well, if you know that it's Raven, if you are sure, I'm sure Baron Mason would want to end up knowing for sure you wanted some evidence of the To the contrary, I don't think he can work off of impulse. Me, on the other hand, well, as far as I'm concerned, she's on the run. Out of the city. Disappeared, probably got eaten in werewolf country. At least that's the story. And I get myself a sweet new hammock. Oh,
I
I feel myself swaying in it now, kid. I feel myself swaying in it now. Breeze just rustling my hair, shriveled nuts.
mm, I I don't I don't know what to do.
I'm gonna say something I really shouldn't be saying right now
Then don't.
because it needs to be said. What does what is your what's your conscience telling you, kid?
That um that as much as as much as I would like to see her head removed from her shoulders for killing my fucking sister, that right now we have bigger fish to fry.
So you're just gonna let this shit slide?
No, because justice does need to be paid in some fashion.
Justice. Justice. Right. So, though Miss Stone is gonna end up getting justice, how exactly does that work, Mouse? Because justice is balancing the scales, so to speak. You know, trying to make sure reparations are done to those who are wronged. That's what she keeps telling me anyway. So, because bluntly, I'd rather just rip her spine out and beat her to death with it, but I'm trying. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it one bit. But he kind of places his hands on your shoulder. I don't want to upset my baby boy here. I really don't want to upset him. So, I can't go down there. And until you get tribute, you can't go down there. And
Right.
I got myself this pretty new axe. And I am just itching to break in. So, as your maker, your sire, your daddy,
My daddy.
I want you to take a very long look at your situation. And I want you to think about it long and hard. Because right now, give me the chance, I will end her existence. And I'll do it proper. But if you think you can do better, you better get to her before me. Consider it a father and son race.
I was more hoping I could ask for your help.
He stops and looks at you. How?
Because there's no way. There's no way. Unless by some miracle, I'm able to like track her down and figure out where it is that she's sleeping right now, and be able to like stake her or something. That's not
You ever stake
Something that-
someone before, Mouse?
no.
It's not exactly like putting a needle into a pincushion. Okay? First of all, you need a piece of wood that's hardened and shaped right. Real fucking pointy. Because you see, part of the problem is you kind of gotta either get a really bad angle in order to avoid the rib cage, or you need to make sure it's thin enough that it can slip between the ribs, or you need it thick enough and hit with enough power to be able to actually drive it through ribs or the sternum, and he kind of drags this finger down the center of your chest, and that right there takes a significant amount of pressure in order to break. I can tell you, it took me about 2 minutes with a fucking mallet. So you can kind of see on how easier said than done. Now-
Easier said than done.
Now, that being said, right place, right time, you need to kind of develop it. You gotta get into the habit. So, that being said, start with the basics.
Hmm.
Do you even know how to make a steak? It's not like, if you end up taking a table leg, it might end up working so long as it's broke, but pull cue can work. You need hardened wood that snaps clean. You need, if you decide to go after them with something like, oh, I don't know, a chunk of pallet or something like that, you have any idea on how hard it is to stake somebody with a pallet?
I'd imagine a lot harder than something that's designed to do that.
Yeah. So you might want to look into that. Start small.
Okay.
Now, you armed of any way? I hate to tell you this, Mouse, but you do not exactly strike me as the type who's about to punch a hole in a cinder block.
No.
Good.
On both of those points.
Okay.
Can't really punch people, and I've tried to stab someone before and it failed, and that's what got me killed. So I'm a little leery to touch anything like that right now. Or have been for a long time now.
Tell you what. You keep me on the inside. And I'll try and end up... Let's consider this, what do they
What?
teach nowadays? Trading money for goods and all that shit. What do they-
Economics.
Economics. Okay, that's the $3 word. Okay.
It's that brain, right?
Yeah. Well, glad you're dealing with an educated folk. So, tell you what. I'm gonna pretend like I just heard you say I'm going to offer you a boon for a juicy bit of tidbits onto who killed your childer,
Okay.
and I'm going to repay that by getting you, well, strapped at this point. You being up close is the last thing I will ever want to see, and, well, ain't all that good to Kindred. At the very least, you can pop from safe distance and not have to worry about taking a baseball bat to your teeth.
I've never fired a gun before.
Fantastic. Good time to start. No time like the present. He pats you on the shoulder.
Okay. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
and he actually pulls out a gun from his bag.
What the hell is that?
I found this on an FBI agent.
The fuck are you doing with an FBI's gun?
I took it from him, and I put it in my bag, and that's the last I thought of it.
Okay.
It was on my person on the boat. I thought maybe it was waterlogged, that it wouldn't function. I haven't tried to make it function yet.
Well, might want to bring that to somebody who knows something about guns. Get it checked out. But if you need something, I can show you an old game we used to play.
Game.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite games. It's called Bullet Tag.
Bullet tag?
Yeah. Literally exactly like it sounds in the name.
Where you try to tag somebody by shooting them.
Yes.
That
Fantastic.
sounds terrible.
Oh no, it's fucking hilarious. Especially if you get him in the nutsack.
Ooh, ow. Nuh-uh.
Yeah. Anyway, Mouse, what I'm getting at here is it's good practice, and if you're in the right neighborhood or far out of the city, gunfire doesn't exactly attract a lot of attention. And if you know
Okay.
what you're doing, you might end up finding a place where you can end up getting used to it. All honesty, though, I mean, unless the guy's one hell of a shot, it ain't gonna hurt too much. You do want to feed really well, though, before you end up doing it.
Yeah.
That being said, if you need anything as far as that goes, I will contact a few individuals and see what I can scrounge up.
By contact individuals, what do you mean? Like people?
Yeah, that's typically how this works, yeah.
How?
Oh! Well, a few different ways I end up not going to do it. Telephone ends up working quite nicely.
You don't carry a phone.
Oh, fuck no. You kidding? Oh, that shit can be traced. No. Pay phones and numbers and meet me at this spot.
You meet up with people.
Oh god, yeah, it's hilarious. Scare the
I
living
don't.
shit out of them.
Oh, yeah. You're fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame shit.
Oh, you goddamn right. Nobody rocks this hunch better than I do. But that's not what I'm talking about. You see, well, if you're quiet enough, you can whisper, never be seen. Yeah, ghost in the dark. Something unholy, but scare the ever-loving fuck out of them. You tell them you run, and it's your family. You leave, and no one will find you. And if you scream, well, then it only gets worse. Once you got them pissing themselves, you make it very clear that if they can't answer your call when you call them, not even death will save you. I'm waiting in hell for them. I'm a demon in the dark, kid. I'm a whisper in the wind, a hallucination of a overstressed mind. I am the person who uses gophers. I am the person who ends up going to the sidelines. Maybe I got some bum. I got licking here in my blood. Looking for his next fix. He never gets to see my face, but he knows the hand is not natural. He doesn't know what I am or who I am. You'd be amazed at what people can do for you when they're pissing themselves.
I'm not exactly intimidating.
You don't need to be. If you whisper in the dark.
I suppose.
The best part is, you can write down a note, bit of instructions, feed on them while they're half out of it, slip a note in a place they'll find it. I prefer in their underwear. It's one of those things where I let them know they want hallucinating. And, well, if they don't pick up the phone, well, I don't make empty promises. If you get one that's reliable enough, maybe, just maybe, it might be worth ghouling. But most of them, you just need to give a small amount of blood. Make them feed on it often enough. Just the tiniest drop. Won't cost you none. And they will need it. Fucking blood crack addicts running around doing whatever the hell you want so long as you make them feel better. You know. You'd be amazed at what you can do.
Didn't you say at one point that the Anarch way isn't to blood bond people into being tools?
Not to blood bond kindred. We ain't talking about kindred. We're talking about your run-of-the-mill, wonderful, home-grown kind. Kind that can only be grown in Detroit. With that asphalt and exhaust taste, you know. It's like diesel runs in their veins. Go Red Wings!
That's interesting to know.
Yeah, well. Alright.
Suppose that's one way to get in contact with people?
It's a risk.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna
The
say
whole
it right now.
masquerade thing.
Yeah. You don't want to fuck with that. So the only time you're gonna do it is you make sure that they're alone and you are willing to kill if that shit goes south. If you can't handle it, Mouse, then you don't do it. We ain't like the Ventru who can just make people forget. We ain't like the goddamn Roses who can just allure you and end up making them want. No, we don't get those options. But we get a very precious option. One that I almost feel like you neglect. Almost as much as your brains.
Staying invisible, unseen?
Ah, that's part of it. We look like monsters on the outside, kid. Deformed and deranged. Horrible abominations of nature, we are. So why not just feel like you can leverage it, if just a little bit? Ain't it worth it to end up making your domain a little bit better? Ain't it worth it to protect your turf? Ain't it worth it to protect your kid?
Yeah.
I'm glad we had this father-son conversation. But I got an axe to grind. He starts walking up and grabs hold of the axe, dragging it behind. He's making it very clear he's overdoing it as he's pretending to like do this Jason Voorhees, crawling an axe. And it doesn't get much better when he starts getting into the shadows, where you see this hunched silhouette dragging the axe as it just hits against the wood steps. Thunk, 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 thunk. Thunk, thunk.
Okay.
Well, you can chase after him, or you can leave him be.
I don't. Um. Don't know what to do.
And I guess with that, you hear a door close. Mouse,
Mm-hmm.
it's still gonna take a few minutes for you to bring your lack of pulse down.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to do right now?
Just calming myself. Just kind of sitting in a corner for a minute to do that. Maybe checking my phone,
Well,
see what's been going on the internet.
you've been keeping an eye out. There was one particular article that caught your attention a while back, probably 3-4 days ago, talking about an officer who was caught in a car wreck. You wouldn't pay it no mind. Pigs deserve it if it wasn't for the name. Sergeant Payne, who was in a horrible car accident. But what can you do? Can you visit her? You don't even know what hospital she's at. Though, you have to wonder. She might be there. Detroit General. The stalking grounds of Baron Creed. What the heck was she
That gives
involved
me
in?
gives me a thought. If I were to call Baron Creed and figure out if she was there, what would that mean for Cassandra? Cass.
With those thoughts, we're going to move on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short break. Grab something to drink, do what we need to do. And then we'll return to Detroit by Night. The Motor City Broke Down, episode 21. Cracking the Whip. Ladies and gentlemen, we return to Detroit by Night. The Motor City broke down. Episode 21. Crack the Whip. After meeting Miss Violet and finally Mr. Seraph being fully considered into the nightlife coterie, Mouse, well, may have lost his nerve, for whatever reason he might have. And separating, it's now Mr. Rashad Seraph and Nightmare who currently start to go about their domain. Each of them is looking for something different, something to build up, because the Fitzgerald neighborhood is their domain, their responsibility. And now Mr. Rashad, officially joining the coterie, now walks upon streets that he can claim as his. There is a wonderful moment, almost solidarity, between these two opposite extremes. And yet, as they finally end up managing to get away from their vehicles, Mr. Seraph, you see Nightmare, that big bruiser in leather and a mask hidden behind a hoodie. But you don't normally dress for this. Have you managed to recover some of your, shall we say, more casual wear?
Well, the Jordans were completely ruined. I decided to get a new pair. Doesn't have the memories, but everything else was fairly salvageable.
Well, we can be grateful for small miracles. You and Nightmare both arrive. You can see a few of these buildings are, well, most of them are dilapidated. And outside of the few more larger apartment complexes, there is a strew of houses. Most of them are collapsing or in disrepair. Many of them are horribly mangled, and few of them are burnt out husks from Devil's Night years ago. The streets are still slick with old rain, and the night is dark with no lights save for the occasional flickering street lamp. Overcast skies removed from the stars, from the moon. Not that you could see it with the city, but it'd be nice to be able to know you had a lit night to walk about in. And so, the scene goes to you.
Nightmare arrived approximately 5 minutes before Rashad, because Rashad gave him. So in that time, Nightmare would have looked around for a suitable location to have a private conversation.
Give me a wits plus awareness or streetwise, whichever you feel applies better.
Awareness.
Okay.
One success. How willpower we roll for that?
You'll spend a willpower? Okay.
Yeah. Do it. One success at least.
Unfortunately, trying to find a place where you can speak privately that's not in the open street, well, initially you poke your head to take a look. You you can see a few squatters in here. You try and end up finding a place that's quiet, and you're there for not more than maybe 5 minutes before Mr. Rashad arrives, when you see a few individuals walking by with those very familiar rags on their arms.
Damn it. Everywhere around here's been taken by those damn cult members. Glad to see you made it here safe, Todd.
Thank you.
Can you see
It's
Ray
very
Child?
dark out here at the moment.
You know what
We
I'm saying?
need to get this place up and running sooner rather than later.
Yes, we do. Who would have known that owning land would be so hard?
Yes. Remind me, what exactly were you here to do?
We
I
need
might be-
to find a place to hold any meetings we might have. So with that we don't attract attention and we don't attract prying ears.
Hmm.
After all, we don't need our business out in the open all the time.
Right. A lot of people can hear out in the open. Alright. I'll help you look around. Two eyes are better than...
You're right about that. There's also something we need to ask, Chad. Have you gotten any more information? Well, I've asked the person that you're going to give.
Nightmare, would you be able to speak up a bit? You're breaking up.
Sorry, my connection isn't the best today. I was wondering if you had any more information about the last person that I asked you to find for me, Mr. Rashad.
Derek, how is that going?
You've come to the conclusion that he's a ghost. Anything back 2 years, you might find. Modern, this individual is very, very difficult to find.
Sadly, I've come to a dead end with finding your friend. It's current. He is very much a ghost.
The bastard was always playing hide and seek. I appreciate you trying. I'll have to rely on some old methods to try and find him.
I'm sorry I couldn't do more with that.
Don't blame yourself. If he was easy to find, I would have been able to do it myself.
Right. What I did end up finding only led back to 2 years. After that, it goes cold.
Anyway, I'll have to figure something out with that. For now, though, we need to turn this place around. So, we should first set up, as I said before, a little bit of a meeting. Somewhere we can secure somewhere that is for us and the guests we might have. But to do that, we might have to clear the infestation first.
That is going to be a challenge, but we have to take care of it. Let's start walking. Let's not stand and linger.
Agreed. Also,
Rashad, it's at this point your phone starts to ring. It's Miss Violet.
Oh, one sec. Nightmare. Miss Violet's just calling. And I answer the phone. Good afternoon. Well, evening, night, whatever.
You have such a way with words, Mr. Sarah.
Bit
I
preoccupied at the moment.
wrapped up all my business for this evening, and I was wondering if you could let me know your whereabouts so I could join you. I do so rarely get the chance to get out these days.
All right. I'll text you where we're currently at. And I'll text you that we're currently at the Fitzgerald project.
Mademoiselle, it shouldn't take you too long to arrive.
Mouse also said that he was going to call after some time.
Yeah. Mouse might need a little bit more time. It was pretty rough.
He was.
So, you are looking for a location suitable. So, how are you going to go about that? Are you just looking at building after building? Is there something in particular you're looking for?
We're going to need something centralized, for sure, so where we can get equal access to all parts of the domain. But also isn't too upfront. Maybe a building attached to another building, easy access between the two.
It's mostly burnt out houses. I mean, right now you're walking on one of the outskirts with the apartment buildings just on the outside of your domain. Inside,
I mean, even if they're husks, we can build them up better. I guess what we're looking for is room. Somewhere in the center of the domain with enough room to expand, to have a secure, I wouldn't say fort, so much as a building where we can safely have conversation. And if an intruder tries to get in, they're going to have quite a tough time doing it.
Well, if we are to assume in the center of the Fitzgerald projects, there is something of interest. You could end up finding a few locations. Give me, well, you're on Puritan Avenue. It's the center street that runs right through the center of the Fitzgerald projects. And there's a few buildings. There's two. It's right across from a school, actually, an elementary middle school. It's at this point you see it. Chapel Hill Funeral Home. It's definitely old. Looks like it's still being held together, though it's a single head floor building. Seems to be fairly wide. Appears to still be running, but it's definitely a location you can use.
Yeah. I mean, after all, the fort doesn't have to be above ground. And if it's a funeral home, also provide a nice cover for more.
Very true.
It's large enough to expand locally, of course. It's right by the schools. It's not a bad location. What do you think?
It's fairly suitable. it can definitely work. I
Well, perhaps we should wait for Violet to get here to see what she thinks.
A third opinion would be good.
And a third opinion you'll have as the phone rings and it's Mouse on the line.
Well, good to see he got his head straight. I will answer the phone. Mouse.
Hey. Yeah, sorry about that.
Doing alright?
Yeah, I'm good. Where are you at?
I tell him the address. Right outside Chapel Hill Funeral. You know of it?
Do I know where that's at?
You definitely know about it. You're probably one of the few I don't need to ask for a roll to find it. You're right.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Actually, it's not far off from, I think he used to end up playing or watching the school football team try and end up playing against the elementary school right across the street.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Well, meet us there. We've got some things to discuss in Bowman.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we need to discuss.
Yes, it's true. We'll also be joined by Violet soon. Just be aware of that.
Oh, okay. Is there at some point where I could talk to you privately?
Yes. Can arrange something. Definitely. After all, Rashad and Violet need to look over the property anyway if they're going to be renovating it.
We're looking at... Okay, yeah, cool. Cool. I'll be there in a little while. Okay, bye.
Alright. Then you hangs up?
Alright. And you two wait?
Yes.
Yep.
We're waiting for both Violet and Mouse to sell.
Alright. Mouse, Violet, would you both be able to roll me a d10, figure out who gets there first? Ooh, well then.
It's Mouse.
Unless there's another 10. No. Okay, congratulations, Mouse. Your moment has arrived. You finally managed to arrive, and you can see these two individuals who are currently standing outside this funeral home. The funeral home looks like it's not dilapidated. I mean, it's clean for the most part.
What do I know about this place? Does it still function?
Oh, very much so. It is still very much an active business in Fitzgerald.
So I'm just looking at the building as I'm walking up, and just kind of stand right beside Nightmare. You know this place is still running, right?
Yes. But that might even work out to our benefit. After all, we're at a poor neighborhood here. The shell projects aren't exactly swimming in money. If we offer this funeral home more money to expand its business a little bit, perhaps update some of it, it would help us both.
I can understand that, but what are you planning to do with it? Like, meeting place? Coterie Haven?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
It's the meeting place. I wouldn't put our Coterie Haven somewhere so obvious. This
So,
could be a
okay.
place where we could meet with guests or anyone who wants to do business with us.
Inside?
Well, or under, perhaps.
If I look around, does there look like there's a basement entrance?
You don't see a basement entrance. You do end up seeing that... Give me a sec. What you end up seeing is that this place is fairly low to the ground. It might not have a basement to speak of. On the other hand, maybe it does, and it's just hidden. Given the fact that a crematorium is not typically found in the center of a neighborhood, you'd be hard pressed, but this is where services are provided.
I don't know about this. It seems like it's too active of a business to even hang around. It seems like there's not going to be any space for us to be here.
Mouse,
Hmm.
your eyes do drift towards the elementary school.
Do they have any of those those pop-up property, pop-up buildings in the back of it? Do I see any of those?
How do you mean pop-up buildings? I guess is the best way. You're talking trailers that have been set?
Like temporary buildings because there's some things that are going on or what have you that they need to shove students in there for during class time, but they're basically just temporary shelters, temporary classrooms?
No.
No.
But it is a fairly wide location.
Mm-hmm. If we want to break in somewhere, though, and have plenty of space to find nooks and crannies to hide should something happen, we might have better luck at the school.
What is the school? This school looks like. Does the school look like it's, run down, or is it a fairly active school?
It seems active enough, though you imagine the populace of the Fitzgerald neighborhood has made it tricky.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can set up in a classroom or something and, use it as a meeting spot. Not necessarily someplace we could sleep, but
we need somewhere secure.
That's at this point.
Set up as a headquarters.
You end up seeing a car pull up and seems to slow as it's about to pass you. The door opens and a familiar face steps out. Miss Violet is now arrived.
Charming little place you seem to have found for yourselves.
it works.
Centralized. This will give easy access to the rest of the neighborhood.
Yes. I'm assuming you're thinking of using... Well, you're both staring at the school, so one must assume.
Well, the thought. My first thought was the funeral home over there. But Mouse brought up a good point. It's wide, not as used current events as the funeral home.
And if we're using it primarily as a meeting spot for public stuff, then finding an isolated classroom in the back of the building where you can break in and break out without much trouble, that seems like a better idea. Funeral homes, kind of, especially an active business, is gonna have security cameras and shit.
I will point out to you, my dear, one of the reasons I approached you was to try and reinvigorate the Fitzgerald neighborhood. A place such as this school would be a great starting point. Communities built around schools. We can use it as a launching point for some of the relief efforts I am hoping to initiate. Which means that
Pretty
right
sure
now
that-
this school could become a lot busier than the funeral home.
And that was what I was thinking when it came to renovation. You can only renovate funeral homes so much. The school, though, that's a different story.
I mean, schools could always use booster clubs.
I just feel it's too risky at the current moment. But such a large cornerstone of the community at risk by making it a meeting place.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, all the teachers and all of the students have gone home by now.
There are
Yes.
always janitors.
Janitors, clubs that might run a little bit late.
Janitors won't be much of a problem.
Plus, this is, well, in the nicest way, this is Fitzgerald. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some form of security here.
I don't know about that. We'll find out, I guess.
Regardless, all these places will be rebuilt in time. At least, updated. What we need is somewhere secure where meetings can be held without worry of someone dropping by unexpectedly.
I mean, Mr. Newman uses a classroom at the university.
Yes, but at the same time, it's a university where all types of figures can show up and it's considered normal. This is an elementary school. If a bunch of adults suddenly appeared around here, what do you think people would think? Was it an elementary or high school?
Elementary, middle school.
Elementary. Okay, that was pretty much.
I have a friend that's gender that could possibly help us with late at night activities, so it'd be even more safer for us to go in at night.
This person need a new job?
I can help him with that opportunity over here.
I mean,
Private janitor. I like it.
we can do
He's
something.
a interesting character.
You were saying, Violet?
I was just saying, before we commit to anything, it may be wise doing some research, finding out who the current head of the school is, who owns it,
Agreed.
what sort of issues we will face. Same with the funeral parlor. We may find that the owners there are more than amicable to looking the other way with the occasional meeting.
Well, we will certainly have to do our research.
Fair enough.
Looking at the funeral parlor, does it seem to have a small chapel attached, or is it literally just go ahead to buy the coffins and get the bodies ready?
Well, it's called Chapel Hill Funeral Home, so maybe there's a chapel attached.
It seems to end up having it seems to be a uniform design. You don't see any separation. But if it did have a side chapel, it might be either deeper in or maybe one of the showrooms is dedicated towards it.
In
Either
either of
way.
these cases, we'd be looking at breaking in,
Depends.
sort
You
of.
could make an entrance.
Why must we break in? Why not just ask?
I've never
It's currently
had...
about 11 p.m., so
It would likely be someone having to ask during the day, unless you know a daywalker. Those exist.
I've heard the rumors, but
If we need someone to check out this place during the day, I can have one of my assistants or secretaries look into.
Get all that information that you were talking about.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to need some points, because I get the impression that a lot of you are either going to be doing this manually or during the day. So each one of you has particular bits of information. So how are you going about asking for this? Let's start with Mouse.
I'd probably check the internet, take my phone out, and kind of look over and see if I can find any public information about this place, about
Fair
both
enough.
places.
Okay. Nightmare. Anything you can do?
Nightmare has a more traditional approach. If there is a school, usually that means there are school records, and that means he might have to do a little breaking and entering. But he's a little cleaner than most people when they break in.
All right.
He's got tools for it.
Mr. Seraph.
I could have someone look into the financial records, see who the owner of the properties are, what the financial situation of both places are as well.
And Violet.
Violet would use her influence with the city council to find out what she could about the funeral home.
Okay. So, Mouse, I need you to roll me a Wits plus Technology at this point.
Technology. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Mouse, there's not much to end up saying. The funeral home has average reviews. Doesn't seem like a particularly positive experience. It's kind of just being, but then again, it might just be on the fact that a lot of the people who are writing reviews are writing after having to bury a loved one. It's a little rough. The school, on the other hand, seems to be surprising amounts of security. You get the impression that this is the kind of school that has metal detectors in the halls. Okay. Nightmare, I need you to roll me a... This is going to be a weird one, but I would like you to roll me a Wits or Resolve plus Larceny.
Does my lockpicking specialty come with this?
Yes, it does.
Alright.
Nice. You just managed to end up sneaking in. It doesn't take much, not for your expertise. The hardest part is getting around metal detectors. But you do end up going through, and it takes a little bit. You have to dodge out of the way from once in a while from some individuals who are walking around with flashlights, maybe janitors or late night guard.
I'll also silence of death most of this, just so I'm not making noise.
I would assume no less. So, you are trying to gather up information. So, there's a lot of files here and a lot of tech. The computers are horribly out of date. They've got to be at least 10 years old. But you end up using... Go ahead.
I mean, I have a technology of 1, which at least allows me to search.
Fair enough. But we're going to end up foregoing that. You're currently going through records. You're going through the paperwork. You're trying to end up flipping through. And, none of these little filing cabinet locks even serve a challenge for you. They might as well already be open. As you end up going through it, you are looking through, and what you are noticing is that it has, if you had to guess, maybe a 40% graduation rate.
Either the curriculum's too hard, or they're just the kids aren't motivated enough.
Well, it doesn't seem like the curriculum's too hard. Their textbooks are definitely out of date. City request for funding has gone unapproved due to SAT scores. The equivalent thereof for a middle school, anyway. I have to pardon, I'm not American. You end up finding records of staff underpay. You see that the bills wise, it is barely holding together, and at this point they're having multiple grades having to share the same class just to end up getting by.
Looks like these guys really do need a little helping hand when it comes to funds.
They literally do not have enough students to fill all the classes, and if this keeps up, this school will be closed in a few years, if not this next semester.
Looks like they might just need a boost. Alright, is there any papers telling about the superintendent, etc., connected to this? Because obviously we're going to need names of people
Most certainly.
who write the checks to.
Yep. You most certainly get some contact information. In fact, that bleeds into Mr. Seraph. Mr. Seraph, you said you're using your influence, so I don't need to end up doing a check. It is literally you giving a quick call, and doesn't take more than maybe 15 minutes. Nightmare doesn't even have the chance to get back by the time you end up getting the call. It discusses the school and saying that it's most certainly struggling. You get the contact information, what have you. It is a public school, but unfortunately, it's running on hard times. The primary problem seems to be that a lot of if there's just not enough people. The school was designed way back when, Detroit had millions of people. This neighborhood was flooded. Now that most of it has been left abandoned, they're having double-stuffed classrooms just to get by. You're also under the impression, heavily, that, well, this might require a little bit more digging, because some of this isn't adding up, though you can't put your finger on it.
I'll dig further.
Okay. Would you make me a wits plus financial -2 to the roll? Because right now you don't have everything in front of you. This is just assumption.
Okay.
Maybe if you had the paperwork in front of you, but right now this is not making sense. There's something about this that just seems off. Violet, you know for a fact that this school is currently in the midst of closing down. It's just no longer sustainable. It's at this point, given the strike last year, it's just not going well at all. What you do end up knowing when it comes down to this school is that in amongst superintendent, in amongst the high rate of dropouts or pulled from school, and just the general health of the neighborhood, it is not doing well. But For you, you know that the current superintendent has been there for maybe 3 years. And he's in from another school that closed down.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Nightmare, it's at this point you arrive.
Alright. I suppose Mr. Seraph's already out here.
Yep. I'll relay all of the information that I have gathered. Something definitely isn't adding up financially, though.
Well, for one, everything's outdated. None of their classes are filled. Places on more than hard time. It needs a real big helping hand.
If only there were a charitable donor to help keep the school from destitution.
Wouldn't that look sus, though?
Well, let me think of it like this. A charitable donor finds out that this school in such a poor neighborhood is going to be closed down just because they can't get the funding they need. All their sources are outdated. And of course, this guy doesn't want to see, or girl doesn't want to see students uneducated. Not in this day and age. I mean, they're our future, aren't they?
We'd need,
So they make a charitable donation.
we'd need a self-made man. Someone who would come up from these streets.
I think I can help with that.
Mr. Seraph, would you be able to roll me a wits plus insight, please?
All right.
This sounds like a good, this sounds like a very simple solution. But there's something in your gut that says that's the wrong move. There's something that's just not adding up. Yes, everything's out of date. You understand that. Yes, people, but what is it? What is it? Something about this is not adding up. You feel like as though if you put money into this, you'd be flushing it away.
Mr. Seraph,
Yes.
perhaps it might be wise to look at the last school the dear superintendent worked at.
Yes, I think he needs a further looking, and
Okay.
something is not sitting right here. And I don't feel like putting money into this without doing further research.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
All right.
After all, if it turns out the superintendent is sabotaging or I don't know, taking the money for himself,
Okay.
embezzling, are.
People are hard up for money. All over the city, they're hard up for money.
Yes, but that doesn't mean you should steal from children.
Shoot.
Right.
People steal for a lot of reasons, including to survive.
There's a limit. It's just who, what.
Oh, I understand that, but the motivation is obvious.
Yes.
Okay.
But if we find out he is embezzling, yeah, we're looking good on him.
How would you go about finding out?
Well, first we need to research his previous his previous status at the previous school he was at.
Okay.
Then look at any monthly transactions that might have come into his accounts.
How would you
which
get?
they'll need.
How would you get access to those records?
I have a thought.
Hmm.
Rashad, you said at one point you're a forensic accountant, aren't you?
Yes. I can look into everyone's financial history, but it'll take a little bit, but with someone like him, it shouldn't take that long.
Well, why don't we make it easier? I mean, a man like that has to want insurance, right? You said
Right.
you mostly deal in insurance, and in order to get most insurance, you have to pass background checks, including those of your bank account.
Hmm. This would easily be in your reach, Mr. Seraph.
Plus, if we research how much he would have made during his time in his previous schooling, if there's any mismatch, we would know whether or not he was embezzling.
Wouldn't necessarily
Well,
show up on the books, but
Well, if he has any offshore accounts, we can check those too.
how many middle
well,
school superintendents do you know that have offshore accounts?
That's the point. If he has an offshore account, there's obviously something fishy going on.
If he has something hidden, I will be able to find it financially.
Well,
So then, shall we call this a plan?
Yes.
Miss
I
Violet.
call that a plan.
Miss Violet, you're awfully silent.
I'm just watching and learning how this coterie works, how they think.
Mr. Seraph, it's going to take some time to pull those records. It's not something that is just at your disposal, but you can get them quite easily.
Right. And luckily, the hunt for Mr. Nightmare's friend has ended. I can put my resources to doing that.
Mhm. And I think it's at this point you start to end up, well, where would you go next? The hour's getting
I think
late.
we have something to drop off to Newman real quick, don't we?
Yes, we still have the patch.
Ah.
Which I'm glad I took away from Raven now.
Should we go
You
take
have
care of that?
business with Mr. Newman.
Business that we probably should have taken care of a long time ago.
Yes, but things have been a bit busy, you know, with BI knocking at everyone's door.
Can I ask what business?
Well,
A boon to be
Yes.
repaid.
yes.
Mr. Newman is not someone you want to owe a boon to.
Exactly.
In fact,
So
I
we
say
wanted-
quite likely Mr. Newman is not someone you necessarily want to associate.
Why not?
Let's
You
just
seem to have a
say-
lot of opinions about Mr. Newman.
Me and him don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
I mean, that could be said about a lot of people, about a lot of people.
Yes, but he seems to have taken it a bit more personally.
Well,
You don't
regardless,
have to come if you don't want to.
Competitors.
regardless, we can't leave boons unpaid.
Oh no, of course. It's just I think I will take my leave for the evening.
Well, we've all got work to do. We would hate to keep you any longer than you must.
I think I'll tag along if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, you are part of the coterie. It wouldn't quite be a visit without you.
It's been forever since I've seen or heard from Mr. Newman. Well, of him anyway.
Perhaps for the best. The old man is a creep, at least.
It'll be interesting.
Let's get that taken care of. That's the last thing that we need to have hanging over our heads.
Okay. With that, three disappear, leaving Violet alone in the Fitzgerald neighborhood.
Oh, Violet would probably notice the nice bike that nightmare.
Probably. It is quite the vehicle. Oh, Violet, if only it was safe enough for you to ride two-wheeler this night. But sometimes you need to end up having a bit of discretion. Though, maybe a little bit of fun next time. Next time. Is there anything else Violet is going to be doing?
No, she will be going back to her haven and working out some plans.
Very well. It's at this point we're going to end up heading over to the University of Detroit Mercy. And it takes a little bit before you arrive. Nightmare, Mouse, and the newcomer. Now, Mr. Rashad, you see that there is a very awkward, long period in order to get into the university itself. Though, I would have to wonder, as you end up finding yourself in there, you end up finding this place is immaculate, very well furnished. Looks like it recently gone under renovations, in fact. And given what you see of Mr. Newman's territory, well, you're sitting in a classroom. You can see that the blackboards have recently been cleaned almost to perfection. Before a man in a suit, not quite as nice as your own, it almost seems as though he's dressed for a funeral, joins you. Good evening, gentlemen.
It's been a while.
I trust you bring good news.
I bring something that will aid in your research, I hope. And at this point, I present the patch. A refined version, combat version of Flan.
A combat version, you say?
Yes. There was an old doctor who was developing these in secret. And, well, we see them in action. Put on one and it amplifies your strength. Put on 10 and you become a monster.
Monster, you say?
Yes.
What does it lick?
I was just gonna say the man who was developing this used to be an employee at Pentax.
Pentax. I shouldn't be surprised. Go on.
Well, his name was Jeffrey Kill, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And he was developing these, but obviously Pentax went under and he was making homebrews. That's the flan that we found on the street. So
He needed to test the subject, which is why he distributed it. So that he could refine it without putting harm on himself. It isn't until we found it. Stash. Most of it was burned. Otherwise, it would have been caught by federal agents.
Did you
Couldn't
receive... No, of course not. Did you receive any of the notes?
Retrieve any of the notes?
Yes.
There were some notes that I did take, but I think that they were burned in the fire. Unfortunately, most of the notes that were on this were done by federal agents.
Should I be grateful that your incompetence didn't at least ended up managing to make something out of this?
Something of note, though, is it is similar to methamphetamines.
How so?
If it works as a similar stimulant. That might be, if you're, whatever your research is, to start with that as a basis.
And you?
Plan users are trying it as a way to kind of cope with the fact that that flan is off the market now.
I imagine the demand is quite high at this point. Well, thank you for that. And you, he looks to you, Mr. Seraph. What business do you have here?
Just observing for now. It has been a while since I've stepped foot on these grounds before.
Yes, well.
He's a new member of our coterie.
I wasn't aware the tunnel rats were taking in Ventru.
I am not a part of the tunnel rats.
Of course not, you're part of the corps. And the corps have their own demands, so that leads me to wonder, what exactly do you plan on doing with these two licks? These underdeveloped children stumbling about. You two can trust him all you like, but in the end, he can't help but be what he is.
I'm more so to help them, or them help me, in a way, raise this city back from the ashes.
The city back from the ashes. How noble. Rebuilt in the tower's image, no less. Still, the boon is paid. That being said, that's a familiar scent I haven't seen in a while. One that makes my stomach churn. What business dealings do you have with Miss Rousing?
Let's just say a newly acquainted business partner.
Of course, corps stick together. Yes. Tell me, did any of you happen to... Because I know full well the small one is way too young to understand this. But perhaps the large one does. Do you have any idea on what she is?
No.
Based on her wounds, I can only take a guess.
And?
Well, I would say she provides relief of a kind. Not to my tastes, but...
She's
I
a
mean,
sick
everyone's
and
got that
depraved thing.
What makes you say that?
Our business is
Yes.
concluded here, yes?
Indeed.
Very well then. You too may leave. Young one, you stay.
Okay.
Mouse, be sure to call.
Wait, say again?
Be sure to call if anything happens. He's gonna whisper this to Mouse.
He'll
As he's
be
leaving.
but a moment. Don't go too far. But I think that someone better educate him before he ends up doing something rash and stupid.
Nightmare's just gonna walk out. Wait for Mouse outside.
There.
I'll get up and bid Mr. Newman adieu.
It's at this point, Mr. Newman drags loudly a chair and slides it in front of you with a bit of a spin, and it just barely stops, as though offering you a seat to sit down.
Do.
He pulls out another chair and sits directly across from you. He's well easily within reach. And he looks at you. Miss Rousing is not to be trusted. Not one of them was quick to say what she is. They call themselves the Ministry now, but I remember what they are. The Vipers. Serpents. They will whisper your heart's desire to you, promise you the world, and you will dance on their string, and by the end of it, they will take everything you care about and turn it to poison. Whatever she said, the truth is that she labors herself to enjoy misery. Watch people fall. It's her addiction. She is what she is, a viper. And if she is not kept to task, she will bring about a nest of vipers.
Mac, you're cutting in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I'm cutting in and out. Ooh.
Yeah.
I think it's a sensitivity issue.
Oh, my voice is apparently clear on stream.
Okay. Do I know anything about the Ministry? Like rumors or anything? Probably not.
Probably not. No. They're a nest of vipers. And she's the worst. She ends up wanting nothing more than pain and suffering. She lives for it. She will cause your downfall by promising you heaven. Whatever that might be. That's how they operate. Setites. She is a servant, ready to bring about a nest of vipers, and we have been lucky enough to only have a few in this city. But one brings the promise of more.
Have you had personal dealings with her, sir?
More than I care to admit. And I am here to tell you this, Lick, no matter what your feelings towards me, she will be your downfall. She can't help it. Eventually, she'll find what it is that makes you tick, and she will twist it on you. And by the end, you will be dancing on her string, and being thankful as she breaks your bones and rends your flesh.
I'll be mindful of that.
We may be creatures unholy to those of the faith, but the ministry, Setites, they're a whole nother thing. Almost akin to a devil who whispers sweet words in your ear. When she's telling you everything you want to hear, run the other way. It's safer that way.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Now get going. I have a busy night ahead. He looks at this patch that you gave him.
I hope it's helpful.
More than you know. More than you'll ever know.
And I respectfully make my leave.
Nightmare Rashad. It doesn't take long before Mouse finally arrives, stepping out from the classroom.
So, did you enjoy the lecture?
Sure.
Was
So
it
short and sweet and
enlightening?
to the point. Just the way I like them.
No, go to college then, kid.
What?
No.
All right. Well, do you guys are heading out to your places, right? Or are we? What are we doing now?
Only taking care of that boom, finally. Suppose it's going to take some time in recess before we can move further. My haven isn't safe. Raven knows where it is.
She knows where both of you sleep.
So I need to find somewhere else to lay low for now.
Rashad, how secure is your bunker from Raven?
Given you
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
her full capabilities, you have no idea. Up until recently, you didn't know she can transform into a hound.
At this point in time, I have no idea. But my building is usually always full, even at night. So she will be a fool to try to cause more havoc there.
Are you safe there, though?
I am, yes.
Well, do you have any thoughts on where I should stay for the time being?
Mm. Would I have a good place where Nightmare could go temporarily?
You can rent a motel if you wanted to. I mean, it's no skin off your undead nose.
Well, I
True.
can certainly do that for a while. I mean, I've got some money, but I have to go back to my place to get it. Which, as long as I'm not staying there for very long, is the best thing I can do.
I can give you the cash. It's no sweat.
And the rumor is that she's prowling around Fitzgerald. She's not really going much other places, as far as I can tell.
Well, then perhaps I'll take a chance to go back and get my money. Well, I could rent a motel, but how am I going to give the money to the person? This, at the point I have my mask in my head. That would be slightly suspicious.
I can do it myself and give you the key. Not that complicated.
Alright. suppose I will meet you somewhere, fair retrieve my money. I can't leave it there, regardless.
Alright. I have one last place I need to go before I go back to my tower.
Alright. We'll meet up soon now. Mouse,
Hmm.
be careful out there.
Oh,
You
no
see
doubt.
her, or any trace of her, you run the other way.
Oh, believe me, that will be the first thing that I do.
Good.
We should talk about a plan
Yes, we should.
about what to do about her.
But real quick. Rashad, if you have your thing to take care of, please do so. I need to speak with Mouse.
Alright. I will see you two tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night, Rashad. Be safe.
You both too. And I take my leave.
You're left alone.
Alright. You said you needed to speak.
Yeah. I didn't leave that place for no reason.
Alright, then what was it?
I started to feel unsafe. Do you know why that is?
In my experience as a vampire, the 14 years I've had, would something similar have happened to me at some point?
Even if it did, you wouldn't be aware that it was what it is.
Hmm.
It's not like the beast, or it's an overriding point of
Just
consciousness.
a random thing that can happen that you can't really tell.
You're not aware that it's a personality. As far as you're concerned, that is completely natural.
It just seems perhaps like you got freaked out. I thought perhaps you were embarrassed or something.
You are too easily trusting.
I wouldn't say that. Just because I am forthright with requests such as these on some occasions doesn't mean I trust her. It also doesn't mean I trust
No.
Johnny with all we've been through.
I was meaning more along the lines of you were willing to tell Violet just about everything that we are trying to do in the Fitzgerald projects, and she's not even a member of the Coterie yet.
We can't ask for help without giving details.
But the details need to be... Oh, what's the word? You started dishing out details without asking us first.
You're right about that.
You'd started dishing out details to Raven before even asking me first when she first came back. Nightmare? Who the fuck knows where she would have been? Yes, she said she went to ground, but what is that? What does that mean? She didn't want to be forthcoming about what the fuck she was up to, and now she's fucking killed my sister. You don't think that I'm cautious now?
I understand, Mouse. And you're right. I have been too forthcoming with him.
When his back is turned, we can eat him, Mouse.
No.
He's too loose-lipped. He's gonna spill every secret you have, and then he's going to end up getting you both killed.
No. He is my brother.
A brother who helped get your sister killed with nothing more than that hanging jaw of his. Rip it off!
It has been clumsy. Let loose this information without consulting either.
I'm just asking you to be careful.
All right, Mitch. I will take that. Things have been weighing heavily on my mind. It's been hard to...
Why do you think I'm bringing this up to you?
I get it. From now on, there will be no information shared without previous consultation between all of us. It doesn't matter who it is, even if we've known them forever. Even if it is Hector, no information will be shared without all of us approving it first. I have been selfish, careless. I am sorry, Mouse. That's not very brotherly.
Thank you. Because I trust you with a lot of shit, Nightmare. The last thing that I need is a contingency plan for you.
Well, I feel you should keep one anyway. After all, frenzies can change things. If I have a frenzy around you, do not try to calm me. Just get out of it. Promise me you'll do that.
That's really the only thing I'm good at.
You should be proud of that. It's not always the best thing to be brave and stand up in the face of danger. Sometimes you have to take the smart route and leave as soon as possible.
Another thing I will ask you to do is just keep me in mind when you're thinking about what's going on in this city.
I will.
I always have my ear to the ground. You know that.
I do. Feel the ground under it.
That's what I'm good at.
It is. By the way, news about Raven. What are we going to...
Well, my thought is since she decidedly killed my sister, that the only recourse, because Juliet was supposed to be delivered to Mason, is to deliver Raven to Mason instead.
How do you plan on doing that? With a stake. To do the trick, but getting it in her is tricky on its own.
As I've been told. No, it's...
He looks at Mouse kind of knowingly, like, if you've been told by someone, it's gotta be someone close to you. And the two people that come to his mind are either Mason or Gutter.
Thing we need to think about is how do you trap a dog?
Give it a bait.
Yeah, but bait, we tried that already, I think.
Well, not voluntarily.
Well, no, but at the same time, it still happens.
Yes, but we didn't have a trap in place at that time either. And she did take the bait. It just happened. Took the trap too.
Yeah. We'll have to give that one a good think.
Yes. And it takes a lot of force to take down one of them, especially one of her wild kind.
That much is clear.
And she attacked before she went haywire, before I went haywire.
Yeah.
She plotted. I don't know how long she's been planning that.
Who knows? This is another reason why I was bringing this up to you.
Regardless, I will be keeping Violet at arm's reach for you. We will still need to confer with her when it comes to raising the Fitzgerald project.
Well, of course.
Information will be on a need-to-know basis. And usually only when there is a trade of information.
Yeah. Let's kind of do that for a little while.
Yes. Rashad's a good... Well, I say good guy, but that's the same thing I thought of Raven. He's been
He's a
helpful.
good blabbermouth.
He
You want
talks more
something
than
to
I
get
do.
out, we tell Rashad.
Yes. He talks more than I do. We should be having this conversation with him.
On that subject, let's keep it on the down low that I'm Gutter's child for a while.
I would never tell anyone whose sire who your sire is. I don't even like to tell people my sire. For different reasons.
Yeah, let's just keep that close to the chest for a little while.
Yes.
And I think with that, with these two Nosferatu, these two monsters that lurk in the dark, walking off the premises of University of Detroit, Mercy, we're gonna go back to where this all started tonight, at the tea shop. It is a wonderful place, the tea chest. And inside it, at rest in her favorite chair, a little late in the evening, Violet sits, comforted by the low light surroundings. Violet, how do you plan to spend the rest of your evening?
Violet is going to be preparing, figuring things out, doing research.
Over what?
She wants to try and figure out who the current ringleaders of the Detroit protesters are.
Mm. A little tricky, but possible. How would you go about doing so?
I mean, it's the hard thing. She's not really streetwise.
No. But perhaps you know somebody who is.
Yeah, she might contact Mouse or Nightmare. Not a phone call, just send Mr. Seraph a message asking to pass along the request.
A small favor. But, that being said, the night goes on. And, sure enough, as you end up taking in the scent in the air, that of sweat and of tears, maybe just a little bit of blood, we're just going to end up cutting over to Mr. Seraph. Mr. Seraph, you arrive at your building. Doesn't take much. You're driven. And as you overlook the premises, there's something odd. There's no one at the front gate.
Proceed with caution.
You continue to go through the front doors. You're observing. Would you be able to roll me a wits plus awareness, please?
All right.
As you're looking about, you almost missed it. You see what looks like a hand behind the desk laying on the floor. It's not until you kind of work your way around do you end up seeing the temp currently unconscious on the floor.
Check his pulse.
He seems to be alive. He's breathing. Looks like he's gonna wake up with one hell of a headache.
Someone's in my building.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the security room. Video surveillance.
Mhm. Yeah. And you continue to end up going through the corridors, looking about, readying yourself for anything. When you end up entering the security room, you see all the monitors. And you can see what looks to be a sheet of printer paper quickly taped to one of the screens. You can see a lot of your cameras have been blacked out. But the paper reads, "Your office now."
I'll follow.
You end up getting to your own office. You notice that the doors are closed. And the hall lights are out here. It's a very odd feeling. You end up walking in, and given on how well illuminated it normally is, this place almost feels alien despite the fact it's yours. By sign of deed and blood, it's yours. Maybe you'll be damned if anybody disrespects your property. It's not until your hand starts to reach for the door. You can feel it bubbling inside you. The beast, that monster inside. It is enraged at the idea that something would come into your domain, your domicile, your haven, your business, and accost your employees, command you in your own home.
They better have a good reason. Whoever they are.
The answer's on the other side of the door.
I'll push it open.
And as you open it, you take your first step. And it's at that point you see red, not blood red, light. 4 of them, small beams. And as you look down, you end up seeing them rained on your chest. And with that, something at your desk reaches over and turns off a light. Or turns on the light, I should say. In silhouette, it leans to your desk, scaring its face. So I'm told you're looking for me. And that is where this session will come to an end.
Interesting.
And we're going to have a quick be right back moment, and then we'll get to experience, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are returning. And we just finished up episode 21, Crack the Whip. And I gotta end up saying, I had a lot of fun this session. So, we're about to end up doing experience. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, we end up having a unique way of doing it. Alright? So, long story short, because ultimately Vampire is not a party game, everybody is kind of out for themselves. In order to kind of emulate that, I wanted to end up bringing out particular points. So what I'm going to end up saying is that we're going to end up having our regular 5 points of experience to divvy up. Now, everybody gets 1 by default. So, congratulations, everybody. However, there's 3 criteria that we have that our players who are currently running our neonates can all choose from. The first one is who had the best scene. Okay, so that's an overarching scene. Alright? Second, who progressed the plot the furthest. Alright? This means somebody who is proactively trying to push plot, one way or the other. Either they've completed a task, or they started a new task, or they've helped elevate the story a little bit more than the next person. 3, who had the best one-liner or the best quick moment. Not necessarily a full scene, because sometimes we get that gem of a moment that's on its own that isn't related to any of the bigger stuff. But god damn it, you want to give them something for it, because everybody loves the whole idea of a horrendous monster who has the door ripped open for him and says, "Have you decided to choose Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?" We can have those moments. So, since I love those moments, I like to reward them. So, amongst you all, first, who had the best scene?
I'm gonna jump right in, and I think that not the quite last scene or the one with Violet, but the one between Mouse and Nightmare was my personal favorite of this session, and I would probably give that XP to Coffee.
Pretty good
I'll
scene.
agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, Mouse, you got 1 XP. Second, who pushed the plot the furthest?
That one's a little more difficult to place, because we worked pretty much as a team this time
yeah.
around.
And
Little bit, yeah.
the more you do it, the harder it is.
Yeah.
I think maybe Violet. And this is the very reason why, because she came with us for the offer of helping to rebuild the Fitzgerald projects as well. And she used her boon to do that. And I feel like she played a key part in it as well, because she got a lot of information. But more than that, she kind of started the whole domino effect that became this situation, this session around.
The situation as it stands.
Yes.
Anybody else want to throw a hat in the ring?
Yeah, I'll give it to that.
You give it to that? That's 2.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to end up going with third. Who had the best one-liner?
We should be giving this conversation to Rashad. He talks too much.
I'll give it to that.
Yeah. Yeah. To Nightmare for that line.
Okay. Nightmare, you get 1 XP. And now, that gives us 4 XP. We do have one more to give, and that one more to give is going to end up being based on audience vote. So if you had a particular member who were like, I was rooting for this person did something I liked, this is just my favorite character, you can be as biased as all hell, whatever you so choose. But I'm going to open it up. Right now, we already got one here going for Rashad. Ooh, Rashad coming in heavy. All right, so we're going to give it a few minutes, and while we end up getting people voting in, what do you guys think? Where do you think this is going to go? Any particular thoughts of the night?
Oh man.
Oh man, this could go anywhere. We introduced Violet, which was always fun. I like Violet, by the way. Excellent.
And we have an
Mouse.
angry gutter on the loose.
Oh yeah, and an angry mouse at that, which is kind of nice to see. And like,
He
I
can do
hate
something
seeing
other
Mouse
than
cry.
angry. I hate to see Mouse angry, but at the same time, it's a nice, refreshing feeling.
He's such a soft bean. When you make him mad, you done
He
fucked with the
grows-
long Nosferatu, boy.
God, gutter's coming out of him.
See, Mouse, you're the beanstalk. You're the beanstalk, and Gutter is the giant.
Oh yeah. You done fucked with the wrong
and-
Nosferatu.
And man, Rashad, you got it tough, my dude. I'm sorry I put you in danger like this.
It's fine. It's about time he showed up.
Right? Like, damn, we've been trying to find him fucking 20 episodes.
Nice. Oh, man. Hey, you want to know what? It came around. I would think it was more like 13.
Yeah, it's somewhere around that. Still, it's been a while.
Been a while.
All right.
Since I've been
So,
fucking so-
that being said, votes are in, and we've had one being waived, so we're going to give it to Rashad tonight. Congratulations, Mr. Seraph.
Yeah, you got one, Rashad. You're the group favorite today.
Oh, I'm just so happy I could cry.
You're
Wait
a
until you
suit.
get a
Suits
webcam.
don't cry.
Wait until you get a webcam, then we can catch it live.
Yeah, suits don't
Yes.
cry anyway. So don't even think about it, Rashad. It would ruin your image.
It's a good thing we're not on webcam. I ugly cry like a motherfucker.
No, but it would make
Yeah.
things so much more realistic.
No, fuck off.
I just hate seeing my face, so that's why I don't have a webcam.
All right. Well, and for those of you who don't know, and you're kind of curious, this is the web that we use to keep relationships. And this is tying in all the important NPCs that they have run into and their relations. And there's Chunk happily eating a donut.
Oh, Chunk.
Chunk. Love Chunk.
We got Gutter. We even got Raven, who apparently believes that everybody in this general direction should get fucked.
So I have an actual question here.
Yeah?
And this is for not just us, but also to the to the chat. Who so far, from your experiences, has been your favorite PC or NPC?
That's a good question. For myself, I will admit Gutter is an absolute delight to play.
I love him so much.
But I will admit I have a soft spot for Creed and Chunk. Those two, like, Chunk is just fun because he has this wonderful naivete, and you know he's, well, I used the term earlier, adorkable. He
Oh,
really
yes.
is adorkable. That being said, I have to admit, I love the way Creed comes off. Because it's so unassuming when you catch her in the nurse situation. Until you
Yeah, it's
realize who
very
she
true.
is. Right?
Oh boy.
Whereas Mason is perpetually creepy. Creed, you can't be sure about. And I love that about her. As far as PCs, I'm not going to pick between them. They're
Oh yeah, I would never ask you to pick PCs. The PC was more for the chat because we're all gonna be slightly,
There was a
biased.
vote for Ari in the chat.
Oh God, Ari.
I love her.
Ari. I would say this. My favorite PC has been all of them. So fight me.
All of them.
Except for Raven. Fuck. I'm kidding. I love Raven. In character, fuck Raven. Out of character, I love you, Raven.
There's a little bit of hype in the chat for Dufresne. Oh,
Ooh.
Dufresne will be. Yeah, please stand up hearing that.
Oh god,
Anyway.
I'm so scared.
I gotta get out of here, so I'll talk to you.
All
later.
right. Well,
Hey,
if that's
Bob.
the case, hold up for 1 second. If you're still
All
there.
right.
All right.
Mhm.
So, I think that's going to conclude the broadcast. But in about half an hour, so we're going to end up starting a little bit late for a VTM workshop this time, and we're going to end up having a little bit of a discussion. So, if you haven't yet, join the Discord. End up hitting the follow button, and let's hear a little bit of a talk in general. We're going to end up seeing what topics you guys want us to end up covering tonight, and we're going to end up having some fun doing that. And don't forget, we're also doing Drawing on the Macabre tomorrow. So I look forward to end up doing that as we continue our pinup project for the Coterie. That being said, say goodnight, everybody.
Whoa.